here. I'm actually not watching this one, Phil. So if you have comments pop up here at the beginning, can you see on your end how many you're watching? I'm just curious about that. I know I can see when I load up the video, but I didn't know if you had those stats somewhere on your end as well.
I'm seeing 0 so far. But
No, I didn't figure they'd be there yet.
They're coming.
I was just wondering who was watching, or if you could see who was watching on your end. But welcome to the live recording of the spoilers. We're gonna get right into it. So as long as Andrew's ready,
I'm good, man.
You ready to talk some spoilers?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to the SiftSpoil for Toy Story 4. This is where we care not if we spoil the movie. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. No, that was Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about specific jokes, instances, relationships, deaths, all the things that that might happen in spoilers, cameos, Easter eggs.
There's a lot of cameos in this one.
Oh my goodness, the Easter eggs in this are crazy.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Carl Reinhardt or Rhinoceros.
Uh-huh.
Did you catch all those?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so
I didn't catch the names. I knew they were all like the cameos were all the old dinosaurs were like all old comedians.
And Carl Rhinoceros. There was Bitey White.
Uh-huh.
Where did he go?
But they didn't say their names in the movies, right? They just said them in the credits.
Yeah. Cheryl Burnett.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Melephant Brooks.
Yeah. I knew I heard all of their voices, and I was like, oh my goodness, those guys are awesome. So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, obviously we're gonna spoil it. So you probably don't want to be here. Plus, we'll probably just jump around, so it may not even make sense to you. Yeah, well, let's keep talking about that because not only were there some fun voice cameos, but the Easter eggs in this thing were crazy. The director, I think, has said it may be a record for a Pixar movie as far as Easter eggs are concerned. And I wonder, I saw so many of them. I'm sure I missed a ton of them as well. But I wonder if they referenced every single Pixar movie in short that has been done, because I saw a Lifted reference. Do you remember the Pixar short Lifted? It was the one, it was like a space UFO one. I saw a Wall-E B reference.
I didn't see a single Easter egg.
Wow.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't see a single Easter egg.
I'm going to go through this now and what I can remember that I saw. And then I'm sure there's even more than that. She, at one point, asks for a badge, and she hands her a grape soda bottle top, and she's like, no, not that.
Oh, yeah.
That's from Up. The last badge he pins on is the exact same grape, soda bottle. I've
only seen Up once.
Well, this is also Up. There's a dog's playing poker painting in the antique store that has Doug from Up in it. So, just stuff like that is all throughout this thing. One of the Pixar shorts, Tin Toy, is actually Tinny in this movie. Like when they go into the radio and like there's this party in the antique store that's happening in there, the toys, the one that greets them at the door is actually one of the first Pixar shorts called Tin Toy is in there.
That's cool.
Yeah. So just like all throughout this thing, there are just those little subtle nods and stuff that's going on.
That's super cool.
It's so fun.
Yeah, that's okay. This goes back to kind of what you said about Godzilla, and how I said there were so many Easter eggs, but you said that you didn't catch any of them, but it didn't affect your viewing,
right?
Because the fact that I didn't catch them didn't take away from any amazingness that this movie gave to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting that you had this experience where you're catching all this stuff. Like, oh my gosh, Tin Toy. Yeah. I can't even remember his name. I didn't even see a Wall-E in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff I missed all over the place. That antique store was probably a treasure trove.
Oh yeah.
Of the ability to sneak stuff in. I'm trying to think of any more that I can remember seeing. I know I had 6 or 7 moments where I was like, hey, look at that. But I can only remember like 2 or 3 of them now.
Yeah.
Because my brain's going, guys. I'm getting old.
Combat Carl.
Oh man,
he just wants that high five.
Oh man, and you missed the ultimate Combat Carl Callback.
He finally got a high five.
He got a high five at the very end of the credits.
Duke Kaboom.
Yes, Duke Kaboom comes in and does the Pixar light thing on the Pixar thing.
Yeah.
And then gives
Combat
the
Carl.
white. I think it was the one in the white outfit.
It's the snow Combat Carl.
Yeah.
Voiced by Carl Weathers. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't. There's another nice little cameo.
Yeah.
Oh, that joke was so great.
Yeah.
The plush rush that you mentioned.
Oh my gosh.
The audience just lost it when they showed her getting some wine, taking a bath.
And then they just rose up next to her bed. I was almost crying. I was laughing so hard. And I was sandwiched in between two families, and there were kids like on either side of me.
Yeah.
And I guess they didn't catch the humor there because they were like, I don't get it. And this crazy old man sitting next to me is laughing his butt off.
Yeah.
Oh, man. The plush rush. It's the funniest thing I've seen in any, like, it beats out anything hilarious from Finding Nemo, Wall-E, anything. It's probably the funniest Pixar moment
Lots
for me.
Lots of laughs in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where my experience is I want to go through all the jokes, but I honestly, there's so many of them, I can't remember them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, as I will have over the next week moments where one will come back to me and I'm like, oh my goodness, that was so great.
Buzz Lightyear had the running gag about the inner voice, with his
yes.
buttons.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's so great. Keep reminding me of other ones.
I don't remember seeing the three-eyed aliens from the claw machine in this.
I don't either. Okay. Now that you mention it, I wonder if they were. Yeah. Okay, so here's the joke that I loved, that is actually critical to the plot.
Trash.
And it's trash.
Trash.
Trash. Trash.
Yeah. He keeps jumping in the trash over and over again.
It's so funny. How did that joke not get old? Like, they did it probably 50 times.
Yeah.
And it was funny every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, so going back to podcast proper, I talked about a character's tonal shift being too, like, immediate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's whenever Woody is explaining to Forky how Bonnie feels about him, how he feels about trash, and he's like, oh, I get it now. I thought it was just like, okay, so you're just going to switch that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little too plot convenient for me. I mean, obviously it had to happen for the story too.
Sure.
And then I had issues
with...
and
let me give you some backup for that feeling.
Okay.
I didn't have that feeling, and I don't necessarily know that it even now bothers me at all. But there is some backup to that because the very first movie is about Buzz Lightyear taking an entire movie to actually admit, to have a shift like that or understand that. And so for a toy to be able to do that immediately feels different than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand that.
And then also I think that Woody made some choices in this movie that were not in the best interest of not only himself but others. Like he's totally switched on Gabby Gab, like oh, I'm gonna go help her now, or
I liked that though.
Really?
That seemed to fit his character.
Yeah, I will say that one scene where she finally gets her voice box fixed, and then the girl picks her up. Harmony was her name, I think. And then she just puts her down. That was one of the most heartbreaking scenes.
Well, there's some beautiful stuff in there about changing yourself for others and not realizing that you're forcing something that's not meant to be.
Yeah.
And the idea of, that she thought that this one thing would change it.
Yeah.
And man, I feel like everybody's been there, where it's like, if I could just change this one thing about me, people would think differently.
Yeah.
And then you do manage to change it. And it's like, oh no, that wasn't the only thing people don't like about me. So it's a really interesting and deep kind of idea that's going on there. But yeah, I found that really powerful.
Yeah. The ventriloquist dummies.
Whew.
Horrifying.
Yes.
I hate them. I hate them. Buzz didn't really have that. He was more of a side character as opposed to being the sidekick in this one.
I think he had the biggest emotional impact.
Buzz?
On the movie. I think that last scene where he's
telling Woody it's okay, Bonnie's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think we have to talk about that scene where Woody is breaking up with the gang.
Yeah.
He's going off with Bonnie, or
with Bo.
With Bo.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going with Bonnie. How did you feel about that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely. It's bookended really nicely with that first scene with Bo Peep when she gets taken away
Mm-hmm.
the first time. You know, and they have that conversation. It's Woody facing his ultimate fear, which is to be a lost toy.
Yeah.
And again, purpose goes back to purpose. What is my purpose? My purpose has always been to have a kid and, you know, to be there for that kid and be played with by that kid.
Mm-hmm.
And him being willing to let go and kind of, you know, he becomes empty nest at that point. You know, it's a parent being okay that their kids don't really want to have a lot to do with them anymore because they're going and living their own life now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really powerful.
I thought it was interesting the dynamic that was brought up that I never really thought about between a toy owned by a kid and a toy shared by many kids, you know, like at the playground and stuff.
Yeah. And a
ooh.
toy it's on display for their whole life to be won by a kid and never chosen. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that whole carnival idea was really fascinating as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else popping into your head? I'm sure you got 1,000 things.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, you know, there's a lot of specific stuff, obviously, we could talk about.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where it's just, there's just so much in there that it's, you know, kind of hard to talk about. Oh, here's another running gag that I loved, that the unicorn kept wanting the dad to get arrested.
Dad's totally going to jail.
Dad's totally going to jail.
Okay. It was
That's Seth Rogen, right?
Was it?
Who's the unicorn voice?
I got it pulled up right here. I'll tell you.
All right, fair enough.
Unicorn. We got Gabby.
Maybe it's Jeff Garlin. Can't remember who voices that. Anyways, continue.
Oh, what were we talking about?
The unicorn voice.
Okay, yeah. Where is the unicorn? I don't even see.
It's okay, man.
No, I'm committed now. Was it called just Unicorn, or did he have a name?
I'm sure he has a name.
Yeah.
Here's something I'll talk about while you guys are looking for that. The idea that the Toy Story universe has added characters with every movie and is still giving a little bit of screen time to those characters. I've talked about the Ice Age problem before, that this is one of the major problems I have with the Ice Age movies, is that they don't know how to handle that. I feel like the Toy Story movies understand how to handle it because they're not forcing those, you know, other characters that are side characters to be in the movie a ton. You know what I mean? Like it's like they're there every once in a while and that's okay. But it knows who its central characters are for this movie. And it knows who its new characters are for this movie. And I thought this did that really, really well. I also really like the Duke Kaboom stuff. The idea of that final jump was so hilarious. The way it was. I know, it's so great.
Oh, it is Jeff Garlin.
Okay.
His name's Buttercup.
That's right, Buttercup. Yeah, it's Jeff Garlin.
I love Jeff Garlin. He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
Do you watch Goldbergs?
No, I don't.
I think you'd really like it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Let's have a laugh track.
No, I don't think it does.
All right. Then I can try it.
Yeah.
Not that I will, but I can.
Yeah, you can. You have the power.
What else? Anything else that we want to spoil? We want to talk about Gabby anymore? You know, she gets found. That's a really. Let's talk about the emotion.
Lost girl?
Yeah, let's talk about the most emotional parts of the movie for me. I think I welled up in tears probably 3 times.
I never did in this movie.
Okay, well, the first was
Toy Story 3.
The first was it was very parental. The first was kid going to school, not having a friend, being in this new world. They hit that so note perfect.
Oh, when the kid came over and took her art supplies?
Yeah. Well, just you know, kind of being without her mom for the first time and needing a friend, and like they hit all that stuff so note perfect. So my ears welled up, you know, in that moment. We cry with our ears, right? That's how that happens.
There was so much earwax pouring out. So many.
Can you imagine? What if that was biologically how the emotion worked?
Pass. I think that shirts would be designed differently to where, you know, they would just fall right off. You don't want that stuff piling up on your shoulders.
Man, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, my ears welled up with that moment. And then also had my nostrils well up during the moment at the end, obviously, with Buzz and Woody. That was actually the closest I probably got to, you know, crying. So I did kind of emote then as well. What were some of the other emotional beats? I mean, we mentioned the other Bonnie, or not the Bonnie, but the girl finding Gabby.
Girl. I didn't remember Bo ever being lost in any of the other movies. Was she not in Toy Story 3? Or?
It's a great question. She was not in Toy Story 3, I don't believe.
Okay.
So yeah.
Because they had a RC, stuck in the drain, and then Woody goes down to save RC, brings him back up, and then Bo leaves, which is kind of an emotional scene.
Yeah.
It's more, premise building than anything, setting up like, ooh, we're going to bring Bo back. And I like the fact that, man, like I said in the podcast proper, I love the fact that Bo actually had a story arc in this one. And Billy Goat Gruff.
I was going to say, one of my favorite parts about Billy Goat Gruff, by the way, another great running gag, right? One of my favorite parts about that is when Duke Kaboom comes on the scene, he knows everything about, he's like, hey, Billy Goat and Gruff. Like he's totally on top of it. And Woody has already messed that up. And Woody gives this look like, oh, come on, and it's so perfect. And it's those kind of subtle things where, where you can just identify with Woody in that moment, where it's like, it's your fault. You're the one who blew it.
Yeah.
But you're going to take it out on this person because they have it all together, it's so perfect.
Well, Bo and Duke had that banter going back and forth about, this toy you're talking about must be terrible.
Yes. Yeah. That same concept.
That terrible toy is you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that same kind of concept.
I'm surprised they really didn't use the cat gimmick more, since, I thought it was
a photorealistic cat in a Toy Story movie. The cat looked more like an actual cat than the humans look like actual humans.
Or the dog, the Sid's dog, in the first Toy Story. That horrifying creature that was supposedly a dog.
It's like, they live in they live in this world where cats look exactly like cats in our world, but everything else is different.
Yeah, exactly. If you go back and you watch the first Toy Story, Andy looks so different than he does in this movie. I'm like, it took me a while. I'm like, oh, I guess that's Andy because you got a friend.
Well, they talked about for the first several movies
remastering.
Well, no. They talked about they specifically didn't want to use humans as much as possible. Like they were trying to use things that would look good as computer generated. Toys, you can do computer generated and make them, look good. So that's kind of, bugs, you can do computer generated and you're not going to worry about, the uncanny valley or whatever.
Yeah.
So they tried to do that up until Incredibles. Was Incredibles their first one that really dealt with
a lot of
humans
people.
Front and center? So yeah,
I said, I can't remember which movies are Pixar and which ones aren't.
So it's fat. They didn't want humans in Toy Story. They're barely in there, but
only to be traumatized.
Yes, exactly. Anything else for the spoilers?
Not really. I'm trying to think. Like you said, there's just a whole bunch of great moments, but I think I've hit all the ones I really want to talk about. The plush rush, the Combat Carl clap.
Mm-hmm. The high five.
The high five.
We didn't talk about, giggle.
It was that hop forward whenever
There was the stuffed animal that was torn in half.
Is that what we look like on this? It's so fluffy.
There's
Key and Peele.
There's a lot of great stuff. Yeah,
they're not attached in this photo.
The giggles. That's true. They aren't attached.
Yeah.
So this audio podcast, Andrew. It's an audio podcast.
Well, hey, I can't help the fact that this is not consistent. Yeah, Pimple McGiggles or whatever.
Pimple? I don't think her name was Pimple McGiggles. It was Giggle McDimples.
Yeah.
Giggle McDimples. Yeah.
Chimples.
I thought she was Amy Poehler, but that's not Amy Poehler who did that voice, is it?
No, it's I can't pronounce her name, so I'm just going to apologize in advance.
I think I know who you're talking about. It's the girl from Last Man on Earth, right?
Is it Mackie or Maki? Ali Mackie.
Oh, I thought it was Kristen Shaw. Who's Kristen Shaw?
No, she's the Triceratops.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There's so many people now.
Yeah. Flea is in this movie? Oh, yeah. Flea is the Kaboom TV announcer.
Oh, nice.
Who's Mr. Pickle Pants?
That's Timothy Dalton.
I know it's Timothy Dalton. I'm just trying to remember who Mr. Pickle Pants is. Oh, the porcupine. Oh, now I can totally see it.
I'm telling you, man.
There is a cast and a half in this movie.
How are there, triple digits cast members in this thing and it doesn't feel like it? You know what I mean? Like that's a magic trick, right? That you can put this many cameos and actual characters in a movie. I mean, Joan Cusack is Jessie.
Yeah.
She's here. She's not doing a ton of stuff, but I just think the movie understands how to use the resources it needs to use to have the story it wants to have. That's really brilliant.
And another thing that this movie does, and a lot of Pixar movies, or I guess I can't even say a lot of Pixar. This movie, especially along with the Lego movie, which I know isn't Pixar, it can have a titan of a cast, but not, really like have to rely on like people recognizing who that voice is.
Right.
They focus on telling a good story, and it just happens to have.
That's exactly right. Yeah, Pixar is perfect at that. So there you go. There's some extra thoughts.
Who wouldn't want to be a part of this franchise? I think that's the thing. Like everybody in Hollywood's like, Toy Story? I want to be in a Toy Story movie. Yeah. I'll have one line in a Toy Story movie.
10 years from now when Toy Story 5 is announced.
Do you not think this is the bookend? Do you not think that Toy Story's done?
I thought that about Toy Story 3 though too.
I did too. That's true.
Right?
It's just going to feel weird with Buzz and Woody.
I understand. I'm just saying, 10 years from now, when Disney wants some more money from the Toy Stories, and they announce Toy Story 5, how are we going to feel? Do we trust them after knocking it out of the park 4 times in a row?
Well, I think, they realize if you just give them a decade, they can come up with a good story.
That's right. Just don't rush it. Just don't rush it. I think that's all I've got to say about spoilers. You good?
Oh, I'm good, yeah.
All right, we're good. Thank you for hanging out and chatting some spoilers with us about Toy Story 4. I'm guessing we'll probably want to do spoilers with yesterday. There'll probably be some plot movements in that we'll probably want to talk about. I'm guessing. So there may be a spoiler episode next week as well.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you then.